Kicking off the list at number 10, the Ring of Sekinianas. One ring to rule them all. And by rule, I mean curse you and your entire family for ages to come. Yeah, this 12-gram gold ring, for starters, was massive. It was beautiful. Its diameter was 25 millimeters, so unless you were wearing some mighty gauntlet, she might slip off. Big ol' ring. It's like a big onion ring, but a little bit more haunting. The ring had first been found in 1785. A farmer was plowing a field in Silchester Village, which is a village west of London, known for its, grim history, as are most of these things on this list. In 45 AD, ancient Romans invaded that site, and come the 7th century, it was completely abandoned. No one was left there. The ring was mighty. It had an inscription on it as well, a Latin inscription. Of course, always Latin. It read, Senequion vivas in diem. When 1929 rolled around, new details surfaced, or resurfaced rather. The data from the ring matched an excavation that was done in the early 1900s, less than 100 miles away, a place called Lydney. That's where this ring is from. That's the OG site. At the same site, however, a tablet was found recalling the Celtic god of healing and hunting, and how his favorite gold ring was stolen. In case you're wondering why this rings a bell, Lord of the Rings was inspired by this legend. The tablet also says, may he who bears the name of Senequianus not have health until he brings the ring back to the Temple of Nodens. So, if you've got it, let's go.
Number 9, the Crystal Skull. Honestly, I'm surprised we haven't talked about this more. A lot of Mesoamerican stuff today, but damn, they got a lot of curses and jinxes on all their stuff. And in reality, that's not fair. All a guy wants to do is loot and pillage other civilizations' treasures, just like my ancestors before me. Nice. Maybe. Well, besides being the second worst Indiana Jones movie, yeah, I said it, I like that one better than the Temple of Doom. Now, if you didn't sit through an hour of Shia LaBeouf, and honestly I don't blame you, basically the skulls are like a Pokemon or Dragon Balls. You gotta catch them all. Only then you will receive a wish where a ghostly outworldish creature will grant you said wish. In other words, this is what a weekend at Vanessa Hudgens' house looks like. I don't know, she said she can talk to ghosts, so. The only ghouls that she's talking to are the people who think High School Musical holds up as a theatrical release. Seriously, try watching that movie now without cringing yourself into the bottom of a liquor bottle. Speaking of ghosts and liquor, you can buy alcohol in the shape of a crystal skull, because we are modern humans and we don't take ancient warnings very seriously. We will probably feel the wrath of the crystal skull, all thanks to a Canadian Ghostbuster.
Number 8, Pompeii artifacts. Once a thriving, beautiful city in ancient Rome, Pompeii was sadly destroyed in 79 AD. This time it wasn't humans responsible for the massive loss of life. What do you know? It was actually Mother Nature this time around. She got one. Nice. The eruption of Vesuvius buried the ancient city in volcanic ash. Thank you, it took 9 tries. Little do you know, viewer. Excavation didn't begin until much later, during the 18th century, and after a century of careful excavations, the city was finally reopened again to the public. Finally, yeah. Just the place you want to go. Hey, every year there's many reports of lootings, locals, tourists, you name it. Everyone wants to steal a little piece of Pompeii, literally a little just in their pocket. Yeah, as if raining volcanic ash wasn't bad enough, now there's thousands of people literally stealing your land. Piece by piece. Pompeii archaeological superintendents get over 100 packages a year of said stolen fragments. They return them. Yeah, thieves will send the artifact back with a little note explaining how sorry they are and how it's caused extreme bad luck in the household. Again, might have something to do with the fact that you're a thief, but hey, who knows? Maybe it's that one time. That's why your marriage failed.
Number 7, the Pharaohs of Egypt. It was said that any thieves who dare enter or disturb the slumber of the deceased kings shall be cursed and perish. Well, this applies to archaeologists too, unfortunately. Howard Carter, the famed archaeologist, and his team back in the 1920s had come across the discovery of a lifetime, finding the tomb of King Tutankhamun. You probably heard of him. And kickstarting the study of Egyptology. For anyone in the sciences out there, you know how exciting this is. Trouble is, some folks on Howard Carter's team started to feel a little under the weather. Maybe it was all the excitement from their discovery. Maybe it was the hot African sun and the dry desert, or maybe it was the curse of the Egyptian pharaohs, as some men on his team perished from blood diseases. That's just not okay. So what's the lesson here? Maybe leave these places alone before it starts raining frogs? Huh? Think about it. I don't want that.
Number 6, the Koh-i-Noor Diamond. Another list, another cursed diamond. Here we go, buckle up. The Koh-i-Noor Diamond translates to Mountain of Light in Persian, which sounds beautiful, but all that glitters is not gold. A Hindu legend says those who wear the diamond will own the world, but will also know all its misfortunes. 186 carats, this thing was a pure beauty. Of course, it was passed ruler to ruler, century after century at that point. The earliest account actually is 1628. The diamond was first in the possession of Mughal ruler Shah Jahan, but once his own son had him imprisoned, the diamond later went to Iranian ruler come 1739. Nadir Shah invaded, taking countless lives as well as the Koh Noor Diamond, all their jewels for that matter, not just the one. It was horrible, but later on he was taken out by 15 of his own officers while he was asleep. Come the 18th century, Queen Victoria had possession of the diamond after being used in the Treaty of Lahore, but Queen Victoria wasn't a fan of the shape. Yeah, she's like, it doesn't really fit with my gauntlet to snap people away. So she had it recut. So now it's only 105 carats, it's a little smaller, but it's still beautiful. Since then, the diamond has only been worn by British royal women. Or else we'll explode.
Number 5. Nazca Lines. Imagine the confusion the first pilots, airmen, or anyone who got a good vantage point in the Peruvian desert, and to their surprise discover some illustrations in the ground. Except, you know, they're massive and no one knows who the heck drew them. Or at least its origins. Obviously it was done by some sort of ancient tribe or civilization, sure, but the grade school process of thought isn't answered. And if you remember, then you remember. You know what I'm talking about. Your 5 W's. Your who, what, where, when, why, and sometimes how. I almost forgot how to count there. That dyslexia is a heck of a thing. I mean, I know how they dug these bad boys in the sand, but hear me out. In those times, there's no planes. The only way you'd be able to see them is on the surrounding foothills. But there's no evidence that these people live close to those drawings, so who were they made for? Gods? Extraterrestrials? The weird guy with the weird hair on the History Channel will tell you so. All I'm gonna say is, anything that's meant for gods and aliens, it ain't meant for us. So keep an eye out in space there. Keep an eye out.
Number 4, ballista balls. I'm not sure if you picked this up yet, but don't take things that don't belong to you. Great, hit the thumbs up for that common knowledge we should all have. Whether you believe in curses or not, leave things alone, and people for that matter, okay? If you want to learn more about Roman artillery, that's why we're here. Don't steal 6th century weaponry. Ever, it's a bad idea. Back in 1989, an archaeological team was brushing up the past near Israeli-Syrian borders, and the remains of an ancient Roman ballista, a massive crossbow, were found. It's exciting, but here comes the bad stuff. 6 years later, researchers found ballista balls, which were sadly the ammo when it came to these massive war machines. And in 2015, these balls appeared in a courtyard outside of a museum in Israel, written from an anonymous thief, imploring others to never touch those stone balls or take them. As, you know, they're cursed. They're all cursed, apparently, full of bad luck. His family apparently left him, this thief, and he had to sell everything he possessed in order to just get by, including those ballista balls. He was gonna sell them and he's like, you know what, no, that's the last thing I own, I'm putting it back. Could be a curse, again, or the fact that he was the thief. Either or. Both not great.
Number 3, Montezuma's Revenge. Yes, that's right. Montezuma's Revenge, a traveler's worst nightmare. I too have succumbed to the horrors of Montezuma's Revenge. And it's always when I gotta do something important, like on a movie set, or with a group of people I'm really trying to impress, especially career-wise. So the rule is no pickled bocconcini peppers before a critical event. However, I'm talking about a different kind of Montezuma's Revenge, not the bathroom kind. I'm talking about his gold. I'm talking about when Hernan Cortez and the conquistadors destroyed the Aztec Empire. Montezuma cursed them. And that applies to his lost gold as well, which in case you didn't know, the Spanish were after. It's pretty much all they were after. So if Montezuma can curse your family trip to Cancun, then surely he can curse a pile of his own gold and jewels. After some were dumped in the lake and others in the desert. I just wouldn't exactly be so excited to go find it. You don't know what might happen if you do. If he can give you diarrhea, maybe he give you vomiting. You don't know. You don't know. I'm pointing a lot in this video.
And number 2, ancient mirror. It doesn't matter who you are, you've heard of this curse before. Maybe you haven't. Maybe you're experiencing this curse right now, I hope not. You break a mirror and what do you get? You get 7 years of bad luck. Has this happened to you ever? If so, what year are you on? I'm on 4 myself. How close are you to the 7-year mark? Because we got your back, okay? Ancient Romans believed that the human soul would renew every 7 years. That's where the 7-year thing comes into play. It's where it all started. It takes time to repair the human soul, right? Combined with the belief that mirror's reflection was the only way into the soul, well, now we have one dude in history who feels really bad for breaking the first ever mirror. Therefore, a curse has lived on. If you break a mirror, you're tearing the soul from the body, and now you're abandoning it. In Kazakhstan, if you break a mirror, evil spirits will haunt the person responsible for the damage. That's a pretty horrible deal. They say you can't look into a broken mirror afterwards, like once it shatters into a bunch of pieces, because that's bad luck as well. So if you break a mirror, you just gotta do nothing about it, I guess. You just gotta be like, Okay, and sweep without looking. There's too many mirrors now. I can cut to today. I'm sure ancient Romans had no idea what 2022 would look like. We have phone cases with mirrors on them. We're literally surrounded by mirrors. I broke a studio mirror, a dance studio mirror once. Am I doomed? I feel like I'm doomed.
Number 1, vampire burial. If you couldn't tell, I get a lot of my knowledge from movies, TV, and video games. It's just what raised me, that's how it goes. So you can't blame me when my knowledge of vampires comes from Skyrim and the hit young adult romance novels Twilight. You know what I'm saying? However, what I do know is that they have sharp teeth, they don't like garlic, and will cease to exist if you drive a wooden stake through their heart. However, that's kind of a moot point, as most things would not work anymore if you did that. I know I wouldn't. Some folks in Poland a few hundred years ago were not taking any chances, however. Remains found in Kaldus, Poland were that of anti-vampire graves. Basically, you bury the vampires and you leave a wooden stake in their heart just in case it wants to wake up and eat you, or do whatever they do at night. I don't know, blah blah blah, some of that stuff. Or remove their head entirely. No wooden stake? No problem. Just toss a couple small boulders into the hole. That way, the bloodthirsty menace can't get people. You know, boy, people in the past were so kind. That's so nice. Number 10, the Iceman. Otzi the Iceman is a mummified body of a man who lived in Europe around 3000 BC. Pretty long ago. Dude was chilling in the ice until we came across him in the Italian Alps and said, yep, this should be in a museum. Lots of studying was being done, and rightfully so. And for the people in that career field, that's very exciting. Lots of talking on how this poor man ended up there. One study suggests that a rather violent end, as an arrowhead was found in his shoulder, meaning somebody gotsy Otzi. More troubling than that bad pun, however, is that mysteriously some folks who were working and salivating over the thought of studying more of poor Otzi, they also got Gotsy, passed away. One after another, actually. Is it connected? Maybe, maybe not, but I know that the common denominator here was finding a dude in the ice, and I haven't done that. I'm still here, still breathing, hi. Number 9, cursed Maori masks. Maori warriors, not something that's talked about too much, actually. I don't know why, they're pretty cool. The Maoris are indigenous Polynesian peoples who settled New Zealand. Easy, simple, to the point. Some might say, I'm just a simple man trying to make my way in the universe. Good Star Wars reference, see if you get that. Well, if you find yourself visiting a museum in the Wellington area, then best be careful because the Maori masks that are on display are said to be cursed. Who would have thought? So much so that it's advised that pregnant and menstruating women keep their distance. What? Maori tradition dictates that these women are taboo? Thus, it could have a curse put upon them. Does it make sense? No. Do I agree with it? No. Is it weird? Yes. Am I going to test this theory? No. If you're pregnant, don't need the display case, right? You catch something real bad. Number 8, Bassano vase. Vases, vases, fugazi fugats, whatever, I don't know how it's pronounced. My mom wouldn't let me near them as a kid. Okay, sure, I was loud and normally a walking disaster, but never in my rambunctious youth did I ever break something. I was a good boy, I swear. Well, maybe one vase I should have broken was the Bassano vase, a silver carved vase that was to be given to a bride on her wedding night in Napoli back in the 1500s. Trouble is, she was de-lifed, and the vase was handed down to her family. Trouble is, every time someone gets the vase, they end up 6 feet under. Or at least another family member does. It's kind of like the letter in Saving Private Ryan. Anyone who holds a letter to Vin Diesel's dad gets a German bullet with their name on it. Seriously, go back and watch the movie. You gotta go see it. Every time someone gets a letter from Vin Diesel, they croak. I'm telling you, you're gonna notice it. You're like, wow, Chetty was right. Eventually, the family told the police to take it away before it claimed another life. A weird story, just strange. Number 7, Oak Island. Everyone loves reality television, even just a little bit. If we didn't, the last 25 years of television wouldn't exist. Now, it's not my favorite thing to watch, but as a man, sometimes you just gotta watch other dudes forge metal and swords and say to yourself, yeah, I can do that. We're weird. Well, what if I told you a cursed island has its own reality TV show? Yes, The Curse of Oak Island. Basically, it's a show where two brothers who equally look like they could be your dad dig tons of holes on a Nova Scotian island to find what treasure lies there. That's pretty much the story behind the show. There's an island in Nova Scotia that's said to be buried treasure there, and this has been enough for a reason for prospectors to be looking for close to 100 years. And that's the truth. Now, naturally, bad things happen to those who look. More interesting than that is the theories of what's actually buried there. Some people say it's Templar treasure, the Holy Grail, pretty ancient, the Ark of the Covenant, weird, something to do with the Freemasons, Imperial British loot. Errol Flynn, John Wayne, and FDR were just some of the men interested in my Neighbors to the East treasure. That's a weird story. Ark of the Covenant, FDR, Errol Flynn? What? That's strange. In that hole, Pilgrim. Number 6, burial sites. Alright, folks at home, this one you're gonna have to help me out with. Let me know in the comments, but this point is all about Indian Aboriginal burial grounds. Some of you folks in the Midwest, or perhaps in the desert states, have tales of when someone gave you or found an item from a burial ground and disturbed the grounds themselves, and after that happened, some mysterious things started to happen. Now this one is kind of a broad stroke because there's just too many incidents to talk about. There's been theme parks, suburban homes, it just seems nothing is safe after the sacred grounds have been disturbed. So to prevent my home from filling up with blood like that scene in The Shining, I will leave these areas alone. You know, I hear living out in the ocean is great these days. Lots of sunshine, water, all the fish you can eat, and poltergeist incidents are at an all-time low. However, shark attacks are up. You gotta do it with the sharks. Just saying. Number 5, Chinese pyramids. Yeah, I know. I said that too. I had no idea these even existed. So the question you really have to ask yourself is what's worse than opening a sealed Egyptian tomb and pyramids, which we really shouldn't have been doing in the first place? Well, the answer is opening ancient Chinese tombs and pyramids, because we don't know what's going on in those bad boys. Sure, they're not as extravagant as the pyramids in Egypt, and the Egypt ones will always be number 1. It's just how it goes. But they're still mysterious. Plus, you can't compare the two. It would be like comparing Adam and me. We're both good at different things. We're both cute, both funny. He just happens to eat more glue out of a bottle than I do. Dude loves a good bottle of Elmer's. What can I say? I prefer wine. The reason why we don't know much about these mounds and pyramids is because some are still being discovered, and it was a long time ago. That's always a big factor. And of course, the Chinese government loves their secrets, so watch out. Number 4, catacombs in Paris. I can already hear the comments. I can just see them now. I'll talk about how weird and strange the catacombs of France are, and someone's gonna go full goth on me and say, Chitty, it's kind of cool to me actually. I don't think it's that weird. Okay, yeah, it is kind of weird though. Now, it's one thing to disturb a burial ground, but another to visit thousands upon thousands of skulls just for the heck of it. When researching the subject of the Paris catacombs, the first thing that came up was a travel website that described it as maximum fun. The chief called. He said, "Ce n'est pas ça," which means it is not it. Yeah, there's like 6 million people buried there. It's kind of crazy. Just, if you want to go visit, go ahead. But the travel website actually said that. Do you believe that?
Maximum fun, bring the kids. It'll be great. And this is the skull of another skull, and there's another skull.
Like, why would you bring the kids to that? I don't know. Take them to an aquarium. Number 3, the Winchester House. Okay, kind of a stretch in this one, I know. But honestly, this bad boy should be boarded up for good. Pour some concrete in there. Just extra thick nails, just for good measure. You never know. The Winchester House is a large property that belonged to the Winchester family of Winchester rifle fame. If you've ever seen a Western movie, video game, or heard your grandpa talk about it, then, well, you know what a Winchester rifle is. It's the rifle that settled the West. I'm sure our American audience needs no introduction. When someone comes along and reinvents the wheel, that person usually gets quite wealthy, as did the Winchester family. However, Mrs. Winchester had some bad luck. Family members perished, and it was thought to be because the family rifle had taken so many lives of its own. It's one thing to have a catacomb filled with skulls, but imagine if you're the reason why it's filling up. Come on, guys. Number 2, Egyptian gold. Besides the dude wrapped up in bandages chilling in a sarcophagus, there were other things left for the king in the afterlife. You might find his doggy or his kitty, jars of pickled pharaoh guts, jars and more vases. Maybe not the one from before, but lots of vases. But the most important thing you can find in there is treasures, gold, jewels, jewelry, valuables, and pretty much really anything of value. Plus, the pyramids kind of act like a car wash for valuables. For example, I could sell you a solid gold necklace, let's say for $1,000. Very nice indeed. And for the men out there, it's been a tough couple years. Let's treat the ladies this Christmas. Get them what they need. Gold necklace. You're welcome, ladies. But what if I told you the necklace I was trying to sell you once lay in the tomb for thousands of years? Oh baby, those prices are gonna get jacked up like my high school jalopy. She was rough. The point I'm getting here is no matter how much you want to ditch the high school car for something new, don't rob the grave of a powerful king. It'll come back to bite us. I just know it. If you open the tomb and there's money in there, close it, walk away. Come watch me instead, walk away from it. Don't do it. And number 1, Ayers Rock. I'm gonna be brief with this one because it's very simple. The point stands. Ayers Rock, Australia, the outback. Gorgeous place. Maybe one day I'll get to do a comedy tour down under. Look out, Aussies, I'm coming. The rock is a natural wonder and connected spiritually to the Aboriginals of the area. So when people are told not to take anything from the limestone natural site, even something as little as a rock, people still do it. And when they do it, they experience a lot of bad luck and they're forced to return it. So what's the the lesson? Don't take anything. Don't do it. Not you're thinking about it. Don't do it. I'm telling you, don't do it. Naughty, don't do it. Number 10, Romanov eggs. The Romanov dynasty ruled over the Empire of Russia for 300 years. 300 years of breakfast being served in the Winter Palace, and 300 years of ignoring the peasants even after they make an attempt on your life. Peasants. Well, eventually this caught up with the royal family, and the people and the workers revolted. They were pretty upset. It was Soviet time. Nicholas II was forced to abdicate his throne and power and went into exile with his family. Now, since the old government was out and, well, it was time to let in the new one, That's a bad joke. Some resources were allocated to the new governing body. Makes sense. And perhaps maybe some family treasures also may have gone missing. We totally didn't take, communists would never take money. What? The Romanov Fabergé eggs, for instance, jewel and gold encrusted decorative eggs, the same that are probably in Nona's basement. However, these would have been worth a fortune. It's too bad they're missing. What a shame. We'll never know. Beautiful, just beautiful eggs, gold and jewels, fabulous. Number 9, Ark of the Covenant. It belongs in a museum. And if you see Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, then you know it's chilling in a top secret military storage unit. Besides the whole atomic fridge scene, I actually think that movie's okay. I really do. The monkey swinging thing's a little weird with Shia LaBeouf, but I think it's okay. Well, in Raiders, Indy is after the Ark of the Covenant, or at least he tries to go after the Ark of the Covenant and put it in a museum. So stupid. The Germans kind of get there first, and even without Indy to save the day, the Germans, well, they botch it. I know that if you watched that scene when you were younger, it gave you nightmares. Don't lie, I know it did. Well, to put it simply, the Ark is a shiny gold box that may or may not contain what's left of the 10 Commandments. That's right, the same ones that Moses walked down the mountain, Charlton Heston, and these are the commandments of God. You know what I'm talking about. You've seen the movie. It's a long movie, 4 hours. However, it's only meant for the eyes of those who are worthy, because if not, 80s CGI ghosts will come out and melt your face. Like in the movie. Number 8, Montezuma's treasure. The Aztecs were an amazing civilization in Mesoamerica who built grand cities with canals and boats for travel. Pretty smart, all considering they never invented the wheel. It's kind of weird. They never did. It's strange. They also happened to fancy a bit of treasure, and by that I mean they loved gold. The smell of it, the texture of it, the taste of it. I love gold! Austin Powers, anyone? Chris liked it. He liked that part. Everything was great until the Spanish showed up and introduced blam blams, germs, and steel, as the Europeans do. The Spanish were after the Aztec treasure, and truth be told, they got a fair share of it too. However, King Montezuma had his own wealth, and it's said to be a fortune, which makes he's the king. He's probably got a lot of gold. It makes sense. However, during an attack on the capital city, he was delifed, and his treasure buried somewhere that's never been found. Ooh, boy, you'd find a lot of good stuff in that pile. However, it may also be cursed, so I wouldn't exactly want to go looking. You'd end up with traveler's diarrhea or something. Montezuma's revenge, baby. Ooh. Number 7, German gold. 1940s Germany. They went on a world tour and they came out pretty strong, honestly. Pretty strong. However, after the international community decided that goose-stepping home from the coffee shop wasn't ideal, they sent Germany packing. However, during their rise to power, Germany was allocating resources for their future trips. Part of this was stealing gold, treasure, and art, and pretty much anything of value, and bringing it back home to fund the war effort, from pretty much anyone they could get their hands on. Ugh. So, after the war ended, all stolen loot was given back to the rightful owners, right? Of course it was. No, it wasn't, because this is real life. While some was recovered, many accounted items are still unaccounted for. It's way too much to even talk about, honestly, it's crazy. And for some of the stuff may also be sitting in a Swiss bank vault still, so that's kind of shady. Swiss bank, uh-oh. Number 6, Mosby's treasure. A Confederate colonel found himself in possession of gold, silver, and valuable family heirlooms. Totally didn't rob all the people in the area to get that though. What? No. Well, while transporting his totally not ill-gotten gains, it was rumored that a Union patrol was nearby. In fear of being caught and slowed down by all of his loot, Colonel Mosby decided to bury his treasure between 2 pine trees, marked with his knife. That's how you know it's always going to be there. After falling back to Confederate lines, he sent out a patrol to retrieve it. The patrol got by Union soldiers, and Mosby never returned. So anyone near Fairfax, Virginia, you may be standing on top of a lot of Civil War treasure. Number 5. Hojo Masamune, master sword maker and legendary smith. His sword was passed down through generations. The craftsmanship, the history, and the fact that katanas are just cool. Ask anyone at Anime North, they'll tell you they're all very cool. Well, it was still around in the 1940s. However, while the international community was explaining to Germany how big of a mistake they made, America was giving Japan a spank on the bum bum. After 1945, America had occupied Japan, as it is normal to do after a war. However, that meant the Japanese forces and civilians had to be disarmed. It was kind of a touchy subject and kind of a tough time, but it had to be done. That means no blam blams and no ceremonial poking sticks. The issue is America wasn't keeping these. I mean, they did keep some, but they were more so destroying things, and it is speculated that in the confusion that was post-World War II Japan, the legendary sword was destroyed, thus lost forever. Number 4. Blackbeard's treasure. The most ruthless pirate of the 7 seas and the Queen Anne's Revenger were eventually defeated in battle. Before he met his fate, old Blackbeard said he buried all of his riches. That was enough to inspire many to look for his booty. One can only imagine what he has buried: gold, jewels, silver. I mean, the possibilities with Blackbeard are endless. He was everywhere. It could be all kinds of amazing stuff there. It's kind of overwhelming to think about. I should go on a treasure hunt. However, it's kind of like that last scene in Breaking Bad. Jack was gonna tell Walt where his money is, but Heisenberg didn't care and ended it. Sometimes ending the reign of an evil man is more important than taking his riches. That's why they got rid of Blackbeard. He's not around no more. Number 3. Libertalia. Uncharted fans, rejoice. So it's the early to mid 1700s, and you're a pirate in the golden age of piracy. Ooh, nice. The Caribbean was a hotbed for your misdeeds. However, sometimes it wasn't so easy to dodge the crown on the seas, and getting caught would mean, well, you'd probably lose your life. It wouldn't be good. So what did a bunch of pirates led by Captain James Mission do? They made their own colony in Madagascar, because you can't boss us around if we're the bosses. Smart. It was called Libertalia. So imagine, if you will, a whole city full of the nastiest, most violent criminals of the 7 seas. Can you imagine what those bars were like? Sadly, however, this may or may not have been true. We're not exactly sure. It sounds like it might not have been true, just made up. But cool if it was, though, and then it'd be lost to time, because we'll never find it. Number 2. Feature presentation. As an actor, I find this one pretty cool. The story of the Kelly Gang was released in Australia in 1906 and is regarded as the first feature-length film. With a runtime of over an hour, the movie depicts the story of an old outlaw gang. At the time, the film was doing great and opened in New Zealand as well as England. Pretty cool for the time. Sadly though, for fans of vintage film, which includes me, check out Freaks 1932. It's one of my favorites. Great movie. But like I said, sadly the film was lost and or partially destroyed, meaning the only thing we have left is a few segments of the movie. We've done our best to refurbish the film, but it's been lost to time. Number 1. Atlantis of the Sands. Atlantis of the Sands refers to a legendary lost city in the southern deserts of the Arabian Peninsula, thought to have been destroyed by a natural disaster or as a punishment by God, known as Ubar, Wabar, or Iram. In 1992, excavations in the area did reveal some sort of city was present many years ago. However, there's not much to be found, and many theories have sparked up. This could be a lost city that's mentioned in Islamic holy books and maps. However, some may say the remains of the stone structures that are there are of that of a much later simple fortress, or others think it doesn't even exist at all. So you can go figure, but otherwise it's lost. I found it in Uncharted with Nathan Drake. We found it, but everyone else, they didn't find it, but that's okay.